Minister, I'm going to start off with the hospitality sector, and I have to welcome any funds that have been given to the hospitality sector to date, but it doesn't go far enough. From a self-employed person, which I am myself, and from what we saw happening during the week and the fiasco that happened for the restaurant and pub owners for inside dining, and I said yesterday that we're the only European country that doesn't have your inside dining. Even if you're fully vaccinated, you cannot have inside dining in one of these premises. The publicans and the restaurants of the inside dining that have no other alternative, they don't have the outside areas, they're in a predicament that a lot of these people don't own their own pubs, a lot of people don't own their own restaurants, they have mortgages, they have dependents, they have rents, they could have leases. They're in a position that they've been talking to their banking sector and pushing back the payments, hoping that they'll be able to reopen and reopen. I was talking to some business owners in that sector, and some of them that have been in business 40 and 50 years, and hoping that the next generation would take over. And they've spent their life savings trying to pay the payments while they're closed because of the add-on costs. They still have to insure the premises, they still have add-on costs. And some of them have dependents. So I want things to go further to help support these people. There are certain cases that people need more funding because they've actually pushed into all their resources. And the one thing I've seen in these type of businesses, they're now, after all their years of creating a business and having a good business, they're now starting from scratch again. And some of these people are at 60 years of age, 70 years of age, and they're trying to start their business again to hopefully that the next generation will take it over. So I would ask you, Minister, that these businesses in certain cases would be looked after and brought with us. The other thing that happened it was brought up yesterday with about the young people. The young generation that are trying to, that would be in the colleges, they get their summer jobs, and they were in receipt of a payment, which was welcomed. A lot of those students now are faced that they now don't qualify for a grant to go back to college because they're slightly over what they would have earned during the terms that they were unemployed. I would like that to be looked at, and I would like that to be waived for this year, that if you qualified for your college fees last year, that you automatically qualify for it this year. For the generations, it wasn't their fault. It was a pandemic, and we now have to be very conscious of this, and it's going to put people again and families in other circumstances that they now have to try and get funds to pay for this. And the other point I'm going to make on this, and it's a brief point, is we expect these people during the external hospitality sector that's open for our holidays, that we're all hoping to get a few days away somewhere. And we are hoping that all these young men and women that will be catering for, whether it is in the pools, whether it is for whatever sport or for recreation purposes. We are expecting, under the ruling that was made during the week to say that the pubs are closed, that we want them to serve us in the outdoor areas. But when it comes to their night off, that they won't be allowed anywhere because they're not vaccinated. Again, this has been thought through, and I want you to go back to that sector. We also looked in at the bus sector, which also will include the taxi sector and the limousine sector. We also need to look at these people. They have missed out in revenue, and again you have funded them with a payment, but the problem here lies is the 9-year rule for replacing your vehicle to have licensing. That needs to allow them, for the profits that they have lost, and for them using, again, their own savings to keep their business afloat even though they were closed. They're now faced with, when they start back in, that their vehicles now are gone past the 9-year rule. They need at least 3 years to 4 years to recoup that, to get them back to where they need to be. We've had bus sector people that have bought buses at the start of the sector. Yes, we have got some of them re-registered and parked up. Yes, the banks have held off in the payments, but a lot of these people have to deal with these issues within the term of the loan. So when they open up, their repayments are actually higher because they've got to cover this within the term of the loan. We have a housing crisis, we have a material crisis, we have a crisis at the ports, we have a felon licence crisis. All these are adding to people building their houses, people renovating their houses, people trying to make sure that themselves or the next generation or their children will have a roof over their heads at affordable prices. I'm in construction all my life, and I've never seen the likes of, we're being told now by our suppliers that they will only guarantee the material prices for 1 week. 1 week. So if I was pricing one-off houses, which there's an awful lot of people do, and we're now having to refuse people that we can't price your house because of the waiving cost and materials coming in. Because when there is a percentage section when you build a house, whatever percentage you've on it, you factor in that if things go wrong and you have to get minor amendments to the house, you've that factored in. But what you don't have factored in is the cost of materials week on week going up. And I've seen in one case alone, on one job that we were doing, the price of steel within 3 weeks went up by 19% in one job that we were doing alone. There's no business could sustain that. And at the other side, the householders have their mortgage, have their set, and they want to build their house, and they have everything penciled in. But the factors is that the materials here at the moment, if the felon licenses was cleared up, there wouldn't be as much pressure on the raw materials from the likes of timber and things like that. For people that are in the hospitality sector trying to create borders between people to give them sections, and they're using timber, again, they can't get the basic materials to do that either. So there's a knock-on effect. Insulation, gone through the roof. And today, on my way over here, I hear now, and we're all saying that let's go green and let's go everything, and let's go electric. The ECB have announced that they're going up by 9%. Here we go. So we're pushing everything. We have a carbon tax. So the people in the towns, villages and rural areas around Ireland are paying the most money because they have no infrastructure, no bus service, no train service, like what you'd have here in Dublin. You can come out your door, you have a shop within 100 yards of you, taxis, you have the Lewis, you have everything. But when you come out the country to a town, village or rural area, you have no infrastructure, and you're putting the highest carbon tax on us because we have no other choice. And then you say, let's go electric. And what happens? Electricity goes up by 9%. So not only would you have electric car going up in the prices by 9%, you also then have an issue with the prices of your home going up. You have the price of running your car going up. And everything around you is being increased. So carbon tax and electricity is going up. So everything is on the rise. People cannot sustain this. And the last point I'll make on this, rental in our area, around our area for the last number of years has fluctuated in housing in the rural areas between 600 and 800 euros. Would have been for a nice house for rental. A 2-bedroomed house in our area at the moment went for 1,200 euros. We now have people that are trying to get their children, bringing them into their own house because they cannot afford to rent if they were in a family way. My own son is a perfect example, himself and his partner and my grandchild. They failed to get a rental accommodation in anywhere within a 20-mile radius. They failed. And when they did put their name down for a certain rental place, they found out that they would actually, when they took in their income they couldn't live. And that's a problem that we've got going forward. So we have got to think reasonably, and I do know you have gone some of the way, but we need to sit down with certain businesses and sit down and say, listen, we need for stays to come here for the next 3 or 4 years to allow people rebuild. Thank you, Chair.